Thank you, everybody, for coming to our session. As Philip has already introduced us, I probably won't go through that. The focus of our talk this afternoon is not simply to tell you about the technology, it's to talk about the design principles, the implementation process, and lessons learned from our implementation of AIChatbot for our global distributed students. Right, how do I? The green. That one. I know that everybody has heard about the University of London, but we just wanted to put this into context, so that you understand why we did what we did and what the real question was that we're trying to answer at the end of the day. So the University of London has been involved in global education since the 19th century. Currently, we have about 40,000 students plus, and they're all based in over 190 countries of the world. 55% of our students are based at recognized teaching centers, where they get tuition and support locally, while 45%, which is not a small number when you're talking about 40,000 students, study completely independently. We are one of the UK's largest transnational educational providers. The programs are delivered in partnership with 12 University of London federal colleges. And as I said, we work with over 100 different recognized teaching centers. The University of London's main form of library support for our distance learners is completely online. This decision was not made lightly. We have a super incredible, one of the best social sciences libraries in the country, Senate House Library. But we thought that it was pointless to have an amazing, all-singing, all-dancing library at the heart of Bloomsbury, when our students were based in Pakistan, Malaysia, Trinidad, you name it, in 190 countries of the world. So we decided to go digital in 2001. And as far as I'm aware, the online library, the University of London's online library, is the oldest fully digital university library in the world. The whole point was about equitable support. The purpose of the online library is to provide a safety net for all our distance learners, however and wherever they've decided to study. Now, there are issues of technological divides and so on. We know about those, and I'll hopefully have some time to address some of those. But this was a decision that was not taken lightly. It was important, and I think we made the right decision. The learner profile of our students is totally different from on-campus students. They tend to be older. Many of them work full-time. Why else would you do a distance learning program if you're free and available to do it on campus and get all the support that you need? A lot of them have to work to get money to pay for their programs. Others want to change their careers, and we are there to support those too. For many of our students, English is their second language. So imagine trying to talk to somebody in Japan, in wherever in the world. You're trying to support them as best as you can, but you need to sort of help them understand where you're coming from and try to unravel that world and what the complexity is. So the language does have an impact on the library provision that we provide. Many of our students do not have access to normal traditional networks, critical networks that other people have, like walking into a librarian's office or having peers to talk to. We know that a lot of our students use physical libraries for space. They even use public libraries. But the most important thing is that these students are mainly isolated and working and doing all other things that they need to get on with. I joined the online library in 2005, so I've been around 20 years. We are now integrated into Senate House Library. I think it's important to know that we recognize that students, particularly those who are in the UK, need a space to study. So Senate House Library is open, and that has helped to broaden and strengthen the provision that we have for on-campus students as well as our distance learners. So what was the main problem? Supporting the global student population, as I said, presented significant challenges. Students study across many time zones and often outside traditional working hours of 9 to 5. In distance learning environments, learners may also lack immediate support, as I said, to the critical networks that they need to help them get on with their academic study. This means that the online library is not just a library that you can or not have if you choose not to. For many, it's a lifeline. Our inquiry service is staffed during 9 to 5. That is a problem. We can't even speak to students from the Middle East. International calls are costly and unreliable. Students were constantly telling us about those, and we didn't know what to do about them. Timely real-time support for many was practically impossible. We have a service level agreement of responding to inquiries within 72 working hours, and as far as I'm aware, we tend to meet that deadline. That said, if there is a bank holiday over the weekend, you name it, Christmas, all the rest, we cannot support students. Students have to wait a very long time for a very simple inquiry. They literally sit and wait to ask where are the exam papers, because they can't find them themselves, or they don't know how to log on to find them. So AI for us was not adopted as a trend, but as a solution to a long-standing problem in supporting a global student community. So why AI, the particular version we chose? It's called OLAC. Well, the live chat software was introduced by University of London Worldwide Student Advice Centre in 2014. We adopted that software in 2017 to address the issue of immediacy and the cost of international calls that students often told us about. We added the AI chat version in 2024, so not a long time ago. The migration was smooth. It was a low-cost transition because we were already running the software and our students were already familiar with the interface. So the goal of our implementation was to extend support beyond traditional core hours of 9 to 5. And as far as I can honestly say conclusively, we cracked a big problem that we could not deal with any other way. OLAC AI works in low bandwidth environments, so that's a huge thing for our students. We've been told by many of our students that they actually work from internet cafes. We know this. Every survey, they always tell us we are based in internet cafes, they work on mobile phones, they ask the library for downloads, which offline downloads for ebooks and so on and so forth. So we do know they struggle. We wanted to provide the 24/7 access so that students get some kind of support. The OLAC chat has got multilingual support. So if you're not clear, or if you write it in a way that normally a librarian would say, can you repeat that? It will understand. It's always available. It's friendly, it's consistent, and that's really important. If you find me at the end of the day, I don't know, maybe I've had too many questions, maybe I'm too tired. Depends on how I respond. But I will be affected by the workload, by the pressures, by whatever is going on in the day. AI is not like that. It's always polite, it's always the same, and our students need that. It's lightweight, it's browser-based, again, it's mobile-friendly. So for distance learners studying independently at odd hours, this reliability really does make a difference. Now I'll hand you over to my colleague to tell you a bit more about how this chat works.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Yes, so when we started to build Chatbot with OLARC, the first question we asked was, what are the questions you're sick of being asked? So from those kinds of discussions, out of that, we built a knowledge base of the common questions that we get from students and their answers. And that kind of became the foundational source of knowledge for the Chatbot. And then later, the online library's website was added to the knowledge base as well, so that the chatbot could answer questions using all of the guidance that we have on our website. Before we launched, we did a lot of testing within the online library team, including scenario-based testing. So, for example, I pretended to be a new law student and didn't know how to navigate the library, and saw what the chatbot said to my questions. And after that, we tweaked the knowledge base and customized it so that it suited our needs. So, for example, what it said when it didn't know the answer to the question, or the option to leave a message for a librarian. And then when we launched, we saw how actual real students used it, which was fascinating. And not just what we asked, but also kind of how they phrased their questions. And that also kind of allowed us to further improve it by improving the knowledge base. And since then, we continually tweak and add to the knowledge base so that the chatbot has the most up-to-date information. And I've lost the clicker. Where did it go?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, so this means that the chatbot is focused for the needs of the university and worldwide students, and that only uses content that we have verified rather than the wider internet. The librarians still man the live chat service. As Sandra said, we've been using live chat for quite a few years now, so we continue using that between 9:30 and 4:30 on work days. And so then the chatbot is active outside of those hours, so that means overnight and at weekends and during holidays. And also when a librarian is busy talking to someone during the workday, and another student comes through, the chatbot will talk to that second student. And if the chatbot doesn't answer the question, the student can leave a message. And if the chatbot doesn't understand the question, then it will ask the student to leave a message. So that means the students never feel stuck. They can be confident that their question will be answered. And the librarians review all of the chats with the chatbot and follow up with the student if necessary. So here is some data this is from January to December 2025. You'll see there's been strong engagement with the chatbot. So out of over 1,800 total chats with both librarians and chatbots and the chatbot, over 1,200 were handled by the chatbot. So that's just over 2/3. So clearly there is demand for support out of hours. Yeah, so many of our students are working professionals studying at evenings and weekends, and of course many of them are in time zones very far away from ours. And a student studying late at night who needs help now doesn't want to wait several hours until the library reopens and the librarians are back online. So the chatbot really does help bridge that gap by providing immediate guidance and directing students to relevant resources. So at the end of a chat, the student is asked to rate the chat out of 5. The overall average, so that's both chatbot and librarian chats, is over 4 out of 5. So students clearly value the service. Chatbot performs well in terms of friendliness and responsiveness, because it does provide immediate answers in a friendly tone. Not that librarian tone, but yeah, the knowledge score could be a bit higher, but that's not too surprising because the chatbot is designed to answer routine questions, and quite often the student will try and find something within the library. They can't find it, so we ask the chatbot. Of course, the chatbot doesn't know either. So In other words, that the chatbot can't currently replace the expertise of actual librarians. The student has also asked if they want to give any comments on the chat at the end. So here are some we've received. So a common theme is speed. Students clearly appreciate the fact that the chatbot gives immediate responses. Chatbot. Some students do encounter difficulties with the chatbot. Some explicitly say that they'd rather be talking to the human, which is understandable, but unfortunately, librarians can't be around 24/7. And yes, so the chatbot works well for straightforward questions, but is less effective when the answer needs detailed explanation or specialized knowledge. And also some students expressed frustration when there wasn't an immediate follow-up from a librarian, which goes to show that the chatbot provides useful support, but human expertise remains an important part of the library's inquiry service. A quick summary of advantages of the AIChat service. Is that it's available 24/7 and provide support outside of working hours, which is particularly valuable for institutions with a global student body, like the University of London. And it also reduces the workload of library staff by handling frequently asked questions, so that it gives us a bit more time to focus on the more complex inquiries that require expertise. Some more advantages. The chatbot can talk to multiple people at once. So that's great at peak times. And accessibility is also important. Like Sandra said, it works well on mobiles and low bandwidth connections. So it's suitable for students using the library from different parts of the world. And finally, the chatbot is designed to be fit for purpose. So unlike more general AI tools, our chatbot is tailored specifically for our students. Yeah, so while the benefits are clear, we also acknowledge that there are limitations. How helpful the chatbot's responses are depends on the quality of data that it's using. So that means we need to continually make sure that the knowledge base is accurate and up to date. Chats with the chatbot can feel less personal when speaking with a librarian. It can help provide helpful information quickly. And we can also set the tone of the voice of the chatbot. We've asked it to sound professional and friendly. But even so, it can't completely replicate human interaction yet. There is a potential risk that some students will rely on the chatbots, even when their question would benefit from human expertise, which is why the librarians follow up on the chatbot chats. And finally, the chatbot requires ongoing maintenance. We review the transcripts of chats with the chatbot and update the knowledge base. So in other words, it's not a system that we can just be left to run on unattended. Yeah, and so if I can, Sandra, if I can hand back for you some final thoughts.
Okay, just a couple more slides. So what does it take to have a library chat service that is effective? It needs to be clearly scoped. If there is a huge scope, or if instructed to search several different libraries, for instance, and different policies, inevitably it will make errors and it will return answers which are not relevant, if that makes sense. It works best if it's focused on routine inquiries. So for us, one of the things this does is it answers routine inquiries, which would otherwise waste time answering. If you have a small team of very experienced librarians, you clearly do not want them to spend so much time answering routine inquiries, frequently asked questions. It requires ongoing review, so you've got to make sure that the information is current, because that's really important. There must be, again, these are some of the advantages that Paul mentioned earlier. Librarian oversight is absolutely critical, especially at the start. Now, we don't have this experience, but if AI learns, then my assumption is that at some point, it's going to be better than it is now. So we need to make sure that we continue to tailor that data, to tailor our policies, to give it the right data for it to be trained on, so that at some point, in a couple of months, it will be very polite, more polite than it currently is, and it will look for all sorts of different things. But in any case, what we wanted the AI to do is to answer routine inquiries, to extend our service beyond what we can possibly do and could never do. I mean, there is no library in the world that can have the right librarian student ratio for 40,000 students. We would need hundreds of librarians stuck up in a building. It would never work. So we needed a scalable technological solution. And it seems, I know there's so many talks about being aware of AI, like this morning's KISS page, which is absolutely fantastic, I thought. And there is caution, and we have to be cautious, and we have to have reasons, and I'll talk about that. But AI is here to stay. And if you use it meaningfully and in a focused way, and if you actually look at what it is you're trying to do, ask those questions, it's fantastic. And as I said, it's here to stay. So we might as well learn to use it and make it do things in an ethical manner, and also train our students to use it ethically, instead of pretending it's not here and talking about all the bad things that AI is going to do. There are some good things that AI is doing, and I would like to see, I genuinely am excited about the future with AI. Might be one of the few, but I don't know. There needs to be escalation, a clear escalation route to a librarian, and seamless support. So the reason we implemented this is not to take over or do what the librarian does. We are experts in our field. We have lots of experience, and we deal with lots of students. There are things that this is a chat that is supposed to just give basic answers based on what we've told it to do. So human expertise will always be paramount. But you do need students to be able to say, well, it can't answer that question, or it has partly answered my question, but I still need to speak to a librarian. And at that point, they say, can I speak to a librarian, and leave a message. So it complements what we do. It does not replace librarians. And any librarian out there who's saying, oh my God, these things are going to take over our jobs. No, they're not. When I was at library school in the 90s, that's exactly what we were told. There won't be any physical books, libraries will be shut. I'm about to retire, and the books are still here. And I suspect they'll still be here in several years to come. It's just they've changed. So physical books are going, and we have different challenges around electronic books and so on. But the book is still here, and it will be. So it's a bit like AI. It extends support across time zones. It enhances, in my view, equity. And equity, that's a very strange word to use. But in distance learning, we have so many students, even those that are studying at recognized teaching centers. Some are small, some are big, some it does not universities are getting varied support. And it's the same when they come through to the team, the online library team. There are people who are more experienced, we'll have new starters who are not so good and don't know where everything is, and so on and so forth. So there is no consistency. This does for basic queries. It literally gives the same answer wherever you're based. So it handles routine inquiries really ridiculously well. Now, I have tried chats on various sites earlier on, maybe 3-4 years ago, and I was often so disappointed. Even for, I don't know if I should say this, a big shop like John Lewis, you go down and you start chatting, and it comes up with all this stuff, and you think, hang on, what's going on? This chat doesn't do that. We have not, I would be surprised, this is not supposed to have 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 for knowledge and satisfaction. That's what the librarians are getting. That's what the librarians are paid to do. We have the higher satisfaction figures, but this does have a place. 3.5 satisfaction, great for immediacy, and what can we ask for? It's doing its job that we set it up to do. But careful design and oversight is absolutely critical. So for all those institutions, if you're in this room and you're thinking, what can I do? I've got to support 40,000 students, and all UK higher education is going through financial difficulties. I don't know if that's politically correct to say, but it's a fact. And we're not getting more support librarians. What do? Well, remove all the things that can be automated. It's always been what we've done time and time again. You give all the admin tasks and things. Will's talk was pretty impressive, I thought, because we talk about surveys and analysis now. I did coding in my doctorate, so I know how long it takes Envisioning and creating themes, and how that it's so time consuming. That's why you have to do it over a long period of time. And he was looking at this 6,400 queries, and in literally 10 minutes, you've got an output. Why would I want to do that? But there is a caution. You've got to know what you're doing. So our job, I feel, is to train our students, not put in dodgy, rely on AI. They need to still have digital and information literacy. It's when it works really well. They need to know at what point hand over and ask for a librarian. There's no point asking a librarian where to find exam papers. But if you are doing research and writing your dissertation, you definitely need to speak for the librarian. That might take a little bit of waiting, but it's well worth the wait. So we need to tell our students the good side of AI openly, transparently, and the bad and sort of things that they need to be careful about. You need to look at what problem you're trying to solve. Don't jump on the AI bandwagon. I know everybody does that, and there's a lot of caution. Don't do that, but it happens. There are institutions, not institutions, maybe organizations, where initially they had AI chat, and then they got rid of all the frontline staff. That's totally bonkers. Why would you do that? Maybe, I don't know. Humans cannot be replaced, not yet anyway, by AI, maybe in the future. But my experience now, as I said, we've been talking about technology replacing humans and doing all sorts of things, and it hasn't happened yet in 40 years. So I think maybe I won't, maybe it will. Do you have the staff capacity for monitoring? Because that's really essential. You want to monitor initially, at least, you definitely, there is ongoing monitoring, but at the start, after the implementation, you want to make sure that the data that students are getting is accurate. When we look at transcripts, we can see where it could have said more. And that is tweakable. You can go back and tweak the call it a homework file and change it. And you can change how you want it to respond to students, how polite you want it to sound, instead of just, so I think in time, it's going to be a little bit politer, a little bit better, and definitely smarter. And then make sure that you're not getting rid of staff. This does not replace librarians at all. It enhances what we do. It enhances the service we provide to students. It makes sure, it ensures that students in different time zones who have never had support in the 20 years I've been in this university are now getting some kind of support. Not perfect support, but some support. And for me, that's a win. Recently, I was going through transcripts because I'm a bit nosy, and I came across a student who said, "This is not as good as ChatGPT." It takes me back when an LLM student asked me, why do they not want to learn to use the library? They're not librarians, an LLM student. And I'm thinking, well, you're going to find data for your clients. What are you going to do? But this is it. So there is a huge, of course, ChatGPT and Copilot are really good generative artificial intelligence tools, or whatever you call them. But they cite the internet. The internet is one of the most source of unverified information, and it's getting worse. So we do not want our students to go on the internet. It's a bit, and again, you can see there is a pattern here. When we teach information literacy, you'd say to students, well, you need to go into the library and find this academic resource. And they say, why? It's on the internet, miss. No, it's not on the internet. If it was these things are locked behind paywalls. So credible academic sources are not on the internet. There are some things on Google Scholar, but you've got to know what you're looking for. You've got to have the information literacy and digital skills to actually find the right information. So yes, our chat searches verified online library academic information. And everything it's returning to student is credible and authoritative. That's what makes it so different. And it connects them to librarians. So when you can't get the help you need, ChatGPT doesn't. It keeps, or Copilot keeps bringing back all sorts of things. Now my librarian, if I search and give it some prompts, sometimes I know that it has in my field that the answer it's given me is not correct. So I go and say, find work by so and so. And it brings all sorts of crazy things. It's made up papers by myself. It says, find work by Sandra Tury and brought things. And I'm thinking, what is this? Where is this coming from? So ChatGPT doesn't always give the answers. To expand, AI Chat has extended our service for our students outside core hours, which is what we intended to do. It has solved a problem we've been trying to solve for over 20 years. It complements and does not replace librarians. It must be carefully thought out and scoped to make sense or to work effectively for your students. And based on our data, 65% of all the queries are responded to by our AI chat. That tells me that without the AI chat, 65% of those inquiries would have a delayed response. Of course, we have, this is in addition to the email and the phones, and we still have an inquiry service. But what I'm saying is that they would have to wait. And it also maybe means we'll have to dig into that. It might mean that most of our inquiries come up outside core hours. That's what it might be. So they're from different time zones. Key takeaway, AI chat is best when focused, scoped, and actively maintained. Thank you.